What's up, YouTube Live? Thanks for being here. We are simulcasting. Right here is Facebook Live. Right there is YouTube Live. So welcome back, you guys, to another episode of Jimmy Rants. For all my Facebookers, I don't usually do Jimmy Rants here. I'm gonna start trying to do better at that to bring lives. I try to kind of mix them up between Instagram Live and YouTube Live, and we're gonna throw in Facebook Lives as well. So YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and we're gonna have an open Q&A here today. So get your questions all about keto, all about fasting, cholesterol, pretty much whatever you wanna ask. By the way, this is LLVLC headquarters. So this is where the podcasting magic ever happens. If you've ever listened to any of my podcasts, that's literally the studio where I do all of the recording, and there's some of my shows I've done. So yeah, here we are, you guys. So, JimmyRants.com is the website if you want to engage in the content. And you'll see that we start live on Instagram Live. We also do Facebook Live, and we also do YouTube Live. So come on and join in, you guys, in the discussion. If you missed the live, we put all the past episodes up on YouTube, so definitely go check me out. I'm literally, you guys, at Living Low Carb Man all over the internet. So youtube.com/Living Low Carb Man, LIVIN LOWCARBMAN. Here on Facebook, I am also Living Low Carb Man, and of course Instagram, where I usually go live in the morning. So we also have a Jimmy Rants podcast. If you've never listened to it, go check it out, you guys. It's on Apple Podcasts as well as Stitcher. And all of these links, you guys, are at jimmyrants.com. So today's Jimmy Rants, I need your help. So give me your questions. What do you want to know about keto, fasting, cholesterol, podcasting, book writing? Ask away your questions. So I'm going to scroll back on Facebook Live first. I see some familiar faces like Stephanie and Louise and Amy. Lots of people that I know here. Liz, Berkeley, Padme, lots and lots of people. Ask your questions, you guys. I really look forward to addressing you guys. So let's see if YouTube Live has any questions from her. So YouTube Live, you're looking downright healthy. Thank you, Deneen. I really appreciate it. Meat does a body good. It sure does. Nice to listen to you. I enjoy listening. Thank you, Carrie. What is your all-time favorite book? Jacob wants to know. That's kind of a subjective question because you didn't say health book. You just said all-time favorite book. See, I was also an English double major in college. So in my undergrad, I have a Bachelor of Arts degree in political science and English. Oh, that is so hard. If I had to narrow it down to one book that's memorable, I have to say The Count of Monte Cristo. I really loved kind of the drama of it. You could literally see the movie playing in your head. And this was long before they made a movie about Count of Monte Cristo. But yeah, that would be my answer. All right. I'm going to come back to you here in a minute, Facebook, so get ready. Health or non-health related anything, Jacob said. So yeah, Count of Monte Cristo. In the diet and health space, I think my favorite book that I read, just because it had so much history about how we got into this mess with our nutrition, has to be The Big Fat Surprise by Nina Teicholz, by far. What does keto carnivore entail, wants to know Carrie. So keto carnivore is where you're doing more of ketogenic macronutrient ratios. Obviously, you're eating zero carbohydrates if you're only having animal-based foods, but you're leaning more towards the higher fat. So I'm making it an aim to go to 75 to 80% of my calories from fat. A traditional carnivore diet is somewhere around 65 to 70% fat. Now, that doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you have insulin resistance and you have what's called glucagon resistance as well, where the glucagon is the opposite end of insulin, it's not functioning properly to bring your blood sugar back up. So when I did a high protein diet last year, I discovered I was having hypoglycemia every time. And the theory is I was getting too much protein that was then causing my blood sugar to go down into hypoglycemia because glucagon wasn't working well, whereas the higher fat, that 75 to 80% seems to be my sweet spot. And of course, all the foods are kind of animal-based foods, which includes dairy. Eventually, I would like to cut out the dairy, but so far so good on even using the dairy right now. Josh wants to know, my 12-year-old daughter doesn't like to eat meat. Should she be taking a children's multivitamin? Well, she does need to have, at least, Josh, she needs to have eggs. If she could do fish, that would be awesome. But completely removing meat from a child's diet especially would be a very bad idea for a lot of the reasons that I talked about on my Jimmy Rants this morning. So go back and watch that one if you missed it. My dad has been doing keto for almost 1 year, says Jacob. Has lost almost 70 pounds, recently had a scary flare-up in high blood pressure for unknown reasons. Any thoughts? Well, keep in mind, high blood pressure can go up for a lot more reasons than just diet, but all the studies looking at a ketogenic diet show that blood pressure actually goes down when you eat keto. So the fact that it went up, are there any extra stresses going on in their life? How's the sleep going? Are they taking any kind of medications or other contraindications in their lifestyle? Take a look at all that stuff, but this should not be a thing that keto caused. So guys, if you're just joining us, we're live here on Facebook Live. We're gonna start doing my show Jimmy Rants here for you guys. I got the whole LLVLC headquarters all set up for you guys. And we're gonna start doing more of these here with you guys. I also have YouTube Live, so we're simulcasting this open Q&A, and I'm doing this live from my recording studio, that's right there, here in Spartanburg, South Carolina. All right, let's go to Facebook now and see if they have any questions for me. How much weight have you lost since going carnivore, if you don't mind? Well, Rosemary, thank you for that. I actually have not gone carnivore. I've gone keto carnivore, and I like to make that distinction because carnivore is too high in protein. So I do make the distinction that it's keto carnivore that I'm doing with that 75 to 80% of my calories coming from fat. So how have I done? Honestly, I'm not really paying a lot of attention to the weight. It's very obvious if you're getting healthier and if your clothes are starting to fit looser, which they are. I mean, these shirts are just gobbling me up now because I'm losing now. I'm not losing fast, and I'm okay with that. For me, it's not about losing fast, it's about losing steady. And I've been dealing with the struggle of trying to get the weight down again for a couple of years now. So we'll just keep at it. I think the last time I checked, I was somewhere around 29 pounds down for the year, which a lot of that came off in the initial period, and then it's been maybe like a half a pound to a pound a week, which I'm okay with that. By the end of the year, that all adds up to pretty significant weight loss. Bonnie says, I have a granddaughter with autism after vaccines, doing keto for her, but doctor's going crazy. She's doing great so far, so why are they? Why are the doctors going crazy? Tell me what their concerns are, Bonnie, and I may have to come back to you here if you write another comment. Tell me exactly what they're saying. What does their going crazy mean? Are they worried about her heart health? What are they worried about? So let me know. Maria says, you're still doing carnivore. So yeah, everybody's asking. And no, I'm not doing carnivore. I'm doing keto carnivore, and there is a distinction between the two. Hello from Australia. Good eye, Jody. Stephanie, hey Steph. I have a question. Actually, this happened to me today. I did a high intensity interval workout this morning, tested my glucose and ketones afterwards. Ketones were at 1.0 and glucose was at 150. I've never seen it this high before. I did not drink or eat anything. This was a fasted workout. What happened? Stephanie, great question. And ironically enough, if you're a fan of my podcast, we actually addressed this exact question on Keto Talk last week. So not the one that aired yesterday all about adaptogens. Last week, go back and listen because we gave a full answer. But in short, everybody right now, even the most fat adapted person, every single person still is burning some glucose in their body. So I know in the keto space, we like to talk about dumping our glycogen stores and shifting over our body from sugar burner to fat burner. Well, keep in mind, in that context, we're not talking about a total elimination of all glucose. What you're doing is you're shifting the preponderance of the fuel source from sugar over to fat and ketones. But that doesn't mean they're all gone. So what's happened is you still have some glycogen in your muscle stores. Your liver is very efficient at pumping out glucose when it's needed. So that's where you're getting it from. So when you work out, and you said you did a workout, high intensity interval training. So yes, when you do, that's what's called a glycolytically demanding workout. So when you do that kind of intensive workout, you're going to release those stores of glycogen. And so it does not surprise me that you would have a blood sugar level of 150. So never, 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 never test right after you're done with a workout. So you want to wait maybe 2 to 3 hours after the workout, let all that blood sugar kind of settle down because it's in your bloodstream from where you worked out. Well, it'll get shuttled out of the body, a good thing. Your blood sugar will come back down to a healthy range again. You'll probably see an uptick. You said 1.0 blood ketones. I bet at the 2 or 3 hour mark, when your blood sugar comes back down, you'll see that blood ketone go back up. It is incredibly normal. Everybody freaks out. Please don't do that. It's normal for your body to have that response where you're dumping the sugar that is being mobilized when you're doing an intensive workout. So I hope that helped you out. Liz says, my doc's trying to get me on a statin drug. Is there a nice way I can shut him down? So I wrote a book called Cholesterol Clarity, What the HDL is Wrong with My Numbers, cholesterolclarity.com, if you want to go straight to the book. And in there, in chapter 5, we talk all about statin drugs and why they may or may not be the best choice. So you have to know, and chapter 10 of that same book, why are doctors so clueless about cholesterol? You have to know doctors are given guidelines that they have to follow when it comes to your cholesterol. And so if they're following guidelines that tell them if your LDL cholesterol is over a certain amount or your total cholesterol is over a certain amount, which we know they're very arbitrary numbers, 100 for LDLC, 200 for your total cholesterol, very arbitrary numbers. That they have instructions that they get dinged by the insurance companies if they do not prescribe you the medication. Now, here's how you can work with your doctor. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being concerned about my health. You take that prescription and then you don't have to fill it. Now, I'm not telling you to do that, but you do not have any obligation to fill it. Now, sometimes doctors go behind you to make sure you did fill it. But a lot of people get him off the hook because his job is to give you that prescription. You are under no obligation as the patient to fill it. And this is the other thing I try to remind people, that in that relationship with a doctor, you as the patient are the boss, not them. A lot of people, they go to the doctor, just tell me what to do, and that's the wrong way. All that doctor is a consultant in your health. So think about a business. You would not hire consultants and say, okay, you run the show, tell us what to do. No, you'd say, okay, assess using your judgment, using your skills, using your experience, assess where you think we can improve. And then you can make improvements from there. And then you make the final decision. So you as the patient, same thing. The doctor says, you know what, I think you need to take a statin medication. Well, you know, reading books like mine, hearing and reading and watching YouTube videos that talk about why statin drugs may not be a good idea, just arbitrarily trying to lower cholesterol, and then you make the decision. But the bottom line with cholesterol, high cholesterol is not a disease. So what I would ask them before I'd go on a statin drug, I would ask them, so what disease do I have? And then if they say, well, you have high cholesterol, you can say, okay, can we test for actual signs of disease? So here are 2 tests that you can ask him for, and he's supposed to actually, according to the new cholesterol guidelines, he's supposed to run a CT heart scan, okay? So if he does not run the CT heart scan and pushes a statin on you, he's actually disobeying the new cholesterol guidelines. So remind him, and I did a whole Jimmy Rants all about this new guidelines, by the way, so go find it on YouTube, type in Jimmy Rants and cholesterol, and you'll find that video that I did all about this subject. But they're supposed to run a CT heart scan, so it's a CAT scan of your chest. It takes about 3 minutes long. I posted a video of my wife Christine getting one a couple years ago. She had a big fat 0 on hers. I've had it run twice myself in the past 10 years, and despite having a 75 to 80% fat diet, I have a big fat 0 on the calcium score, which is perfect. So ask for that. So that's one, CT heart scan that they can do and get your heart calcium score. You will need to get your doctor to prescribe that. And then the second thing you can ask for is called a CIMT. It's a carotid intima. So they do an ultrasound. So just like the ultrasound for pregnant women on the belly, they'll do an ultrasound along your carotid arteries, and they'll see the intima thickness. And that also determines your state of heart health. So if they're going to try to scare you into taking a pill that we know raises your risk of diabetes, it raises your risk of cancer, and ironically, you guys, people take these as a magic pill to prevent a heart attack and prevent heart disease. It also raises your heart disease risk. No bueno. So I hope that helps you out, Liz. I'm taking my daily electrolyte, says, is that IRE? I eat enough and I stay hydrated. Also makes 16/8 fasting regular, but I'm feeling tired lately. Can you recommend something extra to do? So you're doing electrolytes, you're eating enough and staying hydrated. What I don't see in there is how many calories are you consuming. Make sure you're eating enough food, because if you're undernourishing your body's going to cause you to be tired because of that. I also wonder how your sleep is doing. So are you getting good quality sleep at night? Not just length of time in bed, but when you go to bed, are you tired and you go out quick? And then do you wake up refreshed and feel good in the mornings? I would also want to know what your blood ketone level's doing. Are you able to keep the energy up that way? There's a lot of kind of unanswered questions there before I can give you a proper answer. Amy, hello Amy, can you list the benefits of fasting? I remember reading something about cell regeneration, but I'm behind on all this. Thank you. If I was here, Amy, I could do a whole Jimmy Rants episode just on the benefits of fasting. So in brief, I think what you're referring to is what's called autophagy. So that's the cell regeneration that you're talking about. So with 3 days of water and fasting, that's it, just water and maybe some salt in there. 3 days of fasting, you do this thing called autophagy. So it does clean up a lot of the dead proteins that are just kind of floating around in the body. And so you want to clean them up. So think of it as kind of like a roto-rooter for getting rid of all that junk. And 3 days is really not a long fast. I know people freak out about that, but once you go keto, you start skipping a meal, you start skipping 2 meals, you start eating 1 meal a day, and it becomes very natural to maybe want to push it to that like 72-hour mark. And when you do that, you get all of these great benefits. I mean, there's just so many benefits I could name. I literally could do a whole Jimmy Rants all about this. But as you know, Amy, I wrote a book about this called The Complete Guide to Fasting. So go check it out right now, you guys, co-authored with Dr. Jason Fung over on Amazon. How long of a fast will ensure weight loss, Maria? So Maria, if your goal with fasting is to lose weight, please don't. Nope. That's not the goal of fasting. Will you lose weight if you go on a fast? Obviously, you will lose weight. But here's the thing. Everybody's like, well, I'm going to fast and I'll lose all this weight and it'll be the greatest thing ever. Okay, great. So you fast, and I've done this before, you guys. I've fasted for 7 days and I'll lose something like 10 to 12 pounds. oh, that was great. Let me fast again and lose another 10. But then when you start eating again, you have a rebound in some of that weight, obviously, because some of it's going to come back from water weight that you've lost and you've dumped. But here's the thing to remember. If you lose more than a half a pound a day when you're fasting, then it's a clear sign you're insulin resistant. It's a clear sign that your body has some damage to heal from, because the body can only physically shed about a half a pound of weight loss a day. So if you do 7 days, that's 3.5 pounds. So if you lose 10 to 12 pounds on the scale during that 1 week fast, when you should have only lost 3.5 of body fat, don't be surprised if you see a 7 or 8 pound regain when you start eating again. It's completely normal, but this is the thing, it's cumulative over time. You fast today, do it for a week, lose the 12 pounds, come back 6 or 7, and then you do it again. And it's cumulative, and you've got to think of it in that way. I know our society has so conditioned us to, I want to lose weight now, 12 pounds in the next 2 weeks. But that's not the reason you're fasting. You fast to reset your insulin levels. You fast to lower your blood sugar levels. You fast to lower inflammation levels. There's so many reasons why you fast that have nothing at all to do with your body weight, that I'm not a fan of doing it for weight loss. All right, I'm gonna go back to YouTube Live. So let's see if you guys have any good questions over here. Thanks for your patience while I've been answering that. I'm on a carnivore diet for 5 weeks. I've gained weight. I've been on other diets. Weight seems to go up and down. What are your thoughts on what could be going on? So Carrie, if you've gained weight on a traditional carnivore diet, it could be you're eating too much protein. So maybe a keto carnivore approach could be something that you could consider. I also wonder, I don't know what you're doing as far as meal frequency. How many meals are you eating in a day on carnivore? I'm finding on keto carnivore that I can have 1, maybe 2 meals in a day, and that's all I need to eat. Now, they're pretty sizable meals, especially if it's the 1 meal a day, like I talked about in Jimmy Rants the other day. But you don't want to be having a ribeye for breakfast, a ribeye for lunch, a ribeye for dinner. That's a lot of food. So unless you're working out and putting that energy to use. So I wonder if your meal frequency is too often, and or you might be over consuming protein, and simply shifting it to more of a higher fat might be the ticket for you. Since you've been doing keto carnivore, do you find intermittent fasting, or do you do intermittent fasting only, or have you done any 36, 42 hour fast? So I have gone as long as 36 hours during this keto carnivore. I do not consider 36 hours long anymore, but it's only because I've grown up my fasting muscle, you guys. So that's not a long fast for me. I have not done a 1 week fast, although I am preparing to probably do one here very soon. I try to do those 1 week fast, maybe like once a quarter, just to kind of keep things going. I do intermittent fast almost on a daily basis. So I eat the 1 meal a day, and then the next day about the same time, I'm eating my 1 meal a day. So I've been doing about 23 and a half hour fasting just about every day during this keto carnivore. Jim says, I only have 1 kidney. Any specific concerns I should be aware of with keto? Well, I'm not a medical doctor, so I wouldn't pretend to give you any medical advice. I'm not sure what exactly you're asking about, but there should be no contraindication with a ketogenic diet and your kidney health. Now here's an off-the-wall question. That jocularity, do you like The Sopranos? Sopranos, the 90s called and they want their question back. Sopranos. No, I'm not a big fan of kind of those mob shows. No thanks, no. Give me a romantic comedy movie. Give me like a crime drama, kind of like NCIS LA. We just watched FBI. I like those kinds of shows. I like The Big Bang Theory and some of those kind of comedies. Yeah, that's what I watch. Shirley, I've been taking my birth control pill at 9 p.m. every night. I didn't think about it until recently. Does it break my fast or mess with autophagy? I normally stop eating around 2 to 3 every day. It shouldn't. It's not calories. So the only thing that would end a fast would be your consumption of food. And so I would talk to your doctor though, and at least let them know what you're doing. I don't know if in the absence of food that has any impact on that, so definitely ask your doctor about it. Hey, if I don't take this birth control with food, is that okay? A lot of medications, you do need food. I'm pretty sure birth control is not one of those, but just double check with the doctor. Heart calcium scan, don't believe it's available to us in Nova Scotia. So no, Patricia, thank you for that. The CT heart scan is only available in the United States because it's out of Durham, or no, excuse me, Raleigh, North Carolina is where LipoScience, the one that does that lab. Now, there are some doctors in Canada that overnight the labs to Raleigh, and then they can get them back that way. But I think it's a bigger risk in Canada to try to have that run. And plus you guys have the universal health care there. So I don't know if the insurance pays for it. So that would be the other thing. I heard the CT scan, but what was the other one? So Bonnie, it was called a CIMT. C as in cat, I as in invisible, M as in Mary, and then T as in Tom. And what it is, it's the carotid artery on both sides of your neck, and they're gonna look for the intima thickness. And if it's really bad, then it'll show up there. In other words, if you have calcification starting to happen in the carotid artery, that's no bueno, because that could be considered the widowmaker. If you get those clogged up, you're dead. So it's definitely important to get the CT heart scan and then to get the CIMT. Thank you, Carla. I'm always happy to share information about fasting. How would I get more fat with keto carnivore? Easy question. If you're using dairy products, which are animal-based foods, you could use butter, you could use ghee, lard. You could also add in things like cheese and sour cream, cream cheese, lots of ways to get more fat in there to beef it up. So, all pun intended. How often do you eat fish or other seafood? Honestly, I don't like fish and seafood. I have to be super duper in the mood for it, and if I do eat seafood, it tends to be salmon. I'm not really a big fan of a lot of seafood. I do like crab legs and lobster. And I do like shrimp, but shrimp tends to be too, like bull shrimp, tends to be too high in protein. So I don't really eat a lot of that either on this keto carnivore. I think I might just change the time I take the pill, says Shirley, the birth control pill, to avoid problems. Yeah, I mean, certainly tinker around with it and see how it works for you. Sircan has a question about smoking cigarettes. Will it affect water fasting? I wonder, by the way, greetings from Turkey. So I don't think smoking cigarettes would be contraindicated to fasting, but can I be honest with you? If you're trying to make a health change with fasting, why don't you give up smoking too? It's worth a shot. Give it a go. Carrie says, what if I don't do dairy? So then you choose the fattier cuts of meat if you're trying to do keto carnivore with higher fat. So look for pork belly is about 90% fat, and look for ribeye steaks, look for T-bone steaks, butter, or you said you don't do dairy. So ghee would actually be a nice dairy substitute for more fat in there as well. Definitely lard, that's not dairy either. Tallow is another great one. All right, so let's go back to Facebook Live. And once again, if you just joined us, we are doing a live Q&A session here. I've been trying to do these on Friday afternoons since it's a little more kind of relaxed day. I am live from LLVLC headquarters. This is where this is my podcast recording studio. So if you've ever listened to the Living La Vida Low Carb show or listen to Keto Talk or the Keto Hacking MD podcast. That's where the magic all happens. And so we are going live today on Facebook Live here, or excuse me, Facebook Live here, YouTube Live there. And if you missed any of this and you want to watch the replay, definitely go check it out, you guys, on YouTube, youtube.com/livinglowcarbman. All right, let me come back to Facebook Live, see if we got any more questions here. Sharon says, I got off of BP medications thanks to keto. Excellent. I've been trying so desperately to do keto and fasting, but I'm regularly going off the program. What could you recommend to keep on keto? Well, Maria, I'm gonna need more information. What is the issue that keeps you from staying on the program? Are you having hunger? Are you having cravings? What's your blood sugar level? What's your blood ketone level? Are you having trouble sleeping? Are you exercising? I need a lot more information to be able to adequately answer that question. Brand new to keto, says Renee. Well, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Definitely pick up a copy of my book, Keto Clarity, if you're wanting to kind of learn the basics of keto. I wrote that as an entry-level book to understanding nutritional ketosis. It's sold almost 500,000 copies worldwide. It's been translated into 17 languages now. Pretty cool, and I'm very honored we're able to have that out there as a resource. Maria, could you provide an example of your regular meal plan with keto? So right now I'm doing keto carnivore, so you don't want to hear about that one. But guys, make it simple. I think sometimes, oh, well, how do you eat keto? It's so hard. And I'm going, protein, vegetables, fat. That's how you keep it simple. I think sometimes we try to make this way more complicated than it needs to be. But if you eat protein, non-starchy green leafy vegetables, and fat, then you're going to be pretty darn ketogenic. And so what's that look like on a plate? You can get a steak, it's like a ribeye steak, a T-bone steak. Try to get the fattiest cut of steak that you can. If you can't afford steak, you can get a hamburger patty. You can get a pork chop, anything that would be a basic protein. And again, the fattier the cut of meat, the better. And then the side could be really any non-starchy vegetable, broccoli, cauliflower, green beans, asparagus, any kind of non-starchy. Green leafy would be spinach, kale, lettuce, really any of the greens. And then fat, you could add butter to the top of the steak. You could add avocado oil, olive oil on top of the leafy greens. You could put coconut oil on top of your vegetables. It's so easy, you guys. So just keep it that simple. Protein, vegetable, fat. If you do that, you're gonna be pretty darn keto. Rosemary, thanks for letting us know about your weight loss. You look great. That's probably why we're asking. Hey, it's all good, no worries. I'm happy for the questions. Bonnie says, worried about her organs and so much other nonsense when she is off all of processed foods. Now she's paying attention and talking. Seems like doctors have no clue when it comes to this diet. Thoughts? Well, Bonnie, don't try to convince a medical doctor who has only been taught about ketosis within the context of a very dangerous situation called ketoacidosis. So your doctor's having a conniption fit, but it's displaced. So in that context, let's go back to you being the boss in that relationship. If you go in there and you listen to what they have to say and you hear what they're saying about keto and the concerns they have, you express your thanks for their input, appreciate it, and then you proceed to just not pay attention to what you know is simply not true. Now, if they're persistent and they get belligerent, it might be time to consider firing that doctor's butt. I actually had to do that with my own doctor. He's just around the corner over there. I had to fire my doctor because I am insulin resistant. I needed to run fasting insulin. I try to keep an eye on that hormone level just to see how I'm doing. And he refused to run fasting insulin. And I said, okay, I don't care that insurance doesn't pay for it. I'll pay for it out of my pocket. Please run the test. He still refused. I said, well, I can run the test on my own. There are plenty of websites online, you guys. By the way, anylabtestnow.com or privatemdlabs.com. That second one is the one that I use pretty often, not affiliated with them in any way, but they make it easy to order your own tests. You order online, they send you the requisition papers, you go down to your local LabCorp office, which is generally next to a hospital. They pull the blood, and within a few days, you get back an email that has all of your test results right there without the use of a medical doctor. There's only about 5 states where it's not legal to do that in, but they list it there on the website. But he refused to do it, so I had to fire him. So I literally have no medical doctor now. With what I do, getting to talk to doctors all the time, I have lots of access to doctors if I have a medical question. So I am a little bit different than most people, but it's hard when you've got these doctors that simply won't work with you and are up on their high horse all about their knowledge about keto when they have no knowledge on keto. Angie says, I keep falling off the wagon. To start over, should I try an egg fast to get back on? I don't think you necessarily need to just eat eggs, which is something, by the way, that I came up with about 10 years ago as a way to kind of kickstart weight loss for me, and it was the precursor to my understanding of keto. I think if you go on a well-formulated, low-carb, moderate protein, high-fat diet that's mostly real whole foods, you don't have to do an egg fast in order to get results. So go strict on keto, eliminate all those little treats and everything for now, and see if you can get the scale to move again. What if the doctor calls in the statin? So Sharon, once again, you don't have to go pick up the medication. So if they call in the statin directly to the pharmacy, you don't have to go grab it. You don't have to fill it. You don't have to go and buy it. They can fill it all day long. Now, the doctor may follow up and say, hey, I noticed you haven't filled your prescription. And that's when you can educate them and say, well, I'm going to decide not to take it. And so he's still off the hook because you were given the prescription. But if you don't fill it, they might ding you. They might call you. It's so funny every time I hear this. My doctor said I was a non-compliant patient. I was like, yeah, wear that like a badge of honor, non-compliant patient. I want that on the top of my file. Non-compliant patient. You've been a bad boy. We need to put you in timeout. All right, so if you're just joining us, we are doing a live Q&A session. I'm here live at LLVLC headquarters. That's where all the podcasting happens, and we decided to do this simulcast here on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live of Jimmy Rants. This is my daily show that I do typically in the morning times. I start off on Instagram. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Instagram Live. And so we're starting to do more Facebook Live. So all you Facebookers that follow me, thank you for your patience. I've been trying to get over here to be with you guys. And then, of course, I just joined YouTube Live within the last week as well. So I'm really happy to see all of you here. I'm fasting 1 day a week now just to feel good, says Kathy. So that's good. So you're eating for 6 days, and then on the 7th day, you're just totally not eating. That's great. I think a lot of people do that. Mitzi says you can fast to reset the immune system. Absolutely, Misty. And I find just doing something as short as like 72 hours, your immune system gets better. You know, a lot of people are concerned about gut health. It's going to get gross, but this is why you come here. My poops are never better than after I do an extended fast. And I've done 3 21-day fasts before, you guys, and then lots of 7-day, 5 to 7 day fasts, and obviously every single day doing intermittent fasting. And my poops are never better than after I break a fast. There's usually a little bit of a lag period before you start pooping again. And then when you do start pooping again, it is the most beautiful looking snakes you've ever seen. So this whole notion that you need to feed the gut microbiome, which you do, but I think giving it a rest and having periods of fasting does help to clean that up too. My longest fast, Jeannie says, was 20 days. If you eat chemical free, when you end the fast, you will not gain. Well, you will gain back some. So you will, just a little bit, but not all of it. How much protein do I need a day? I'm 41 years old and 180 pounds, Dana. Dana, that's not enough information to be able to help you. There's so many other factors at play. Do you have insulin resistance? What's your fasting insulin level? What's your blood sugar level? What are your blood ketone levels? What are you currently eating? How long have you been keto? There's just so many unanswered questions for me to answer that. Now, you've got controversy about protein. There's some people that say, oh, protein is a goal. So you want to try to get as much possible into your body. So I think that's probably misguided advice. Do you need to go low on the protein? Absolutely not. Nobody in keto is calling for anybody to eat low protein. What we do talk about is having low carb, moderate protein, high fat. So generally the ratios work out that carbs are around 5% of your calories. Protein is around 20 to 25% of your calories, and then fat is 70 to 75% of the calories. If you get to those ratios, and obviously your metabolism is going to determine whether you're on the higher fat end of things and the more moderate protein around 20%, or the just a tick lower in fat down to like 70% and a tick higher in the protein to 25%. I can tell you this was really fascinating to me. When I started keto carnivore, my stated goal was to get 75 to 80% of my calories coming from fat. And so I've done that. So that makes sure that I get 25% of my calories 20 to 25% from protein. So because I've totally eliminated all carbohydrate consumption, the extra calories that I'm now consuming to eat the same number of calories I did before is coming in the form of protein. So whereas when I did a traditional ketogenic diet, I was somewhere around maybe 90 to 100 grams of protein a day. Now, with this keto carnivore, I'm getting somewhere around 130 to 140 grams of protein. So it's a tick up, but I'm still seeing good ketone levels. I'm still seeing good markers. Everything is doing and going in the right direction. So I think context matters. If you're gonna try more of a keto carnivore approach, you could probably cheat higher on the protein. If you're gonna add in vegetables and other things to the diet, then you need to adjust the protein level accordingly. Kathy, just finished 2 days of 1 meal a day. I feel great, excellent. I love Q&A like this. Thank you for your help. You're welcome, Gary. How do I reduce protein in a carnivore eating regimen? So the best way to reduce protein, and I'll put it another way, Maria, not reduce protein, increase fat. And I just answered that a little bit earlier. But in short, try to add in dairy if you can. But even non-dairy fat choices include lard and ghee and tallow. Those kinds of things can bump up the fat calories. And you don't really need a whole lot. This is the cool thing too. Fat is so dense in energy that you could do like a tablespoon or two and it really does bump it up pretty good. So Dana wants to know what keto carnivore is. Go back and watch the beginning because somebody asked that exact question and I've already answered it. Gina says, my A1C's gone from 9.3 to 5.7. So that's awesome, Gina, and keep it up. I'm assuming keto did that. Yeah, that's fabulous. The goal is to go under 5.5. My last one that I checked was 5.1. And what that is your average blood glucose at all times over the past 3 months. So Americans are the only ones that don't use millimole per liter. So go on Google, type in 5.7, even the 9.3 Gina in a Google search, and then millimole per liter, 2 milligrams per deciliter. So mmol/L, 2 TO, mg/dl. And if you do that, it'll translate what that means in blood sugar. Very roughly a 9.3 A1C. That translates to, it's in the upper 100s, so it was bad. 5.7 is right in the lower 100. So you've definitely improved your blood sugar control. Kudos to you. Maria, I'm having cravings and hunger. So if you're having cravings and hunger on a ketogenic diet, the best way to kind of zap those is to try to eat more fat. Now, if it's not a nutrition thing, then you've got to try to de-stress, because that can stoke hunger, that can stoke cravings. It depends on how long you've been keto as well. If you just started, it could take a period of 2 to 4 weeks for most people, 4 to 8 weeks in others. To get fully keto adapted. I would want to know, with the hunger and cravings, I would want to know what's your blood sugar and what's your blood ketones doing, because that could be the tail. If your blood sugar's higher, that would be driving the hunger and the cravings. If your ketones are not in a therapeutic state, that might be another thing that could be causing trouble. Let's see here. So Tara is asking about the weight loss on keto carnivore. Once again, I answered that question at the very beginning, so go back and watch the replay. You look great and younger. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. Type in that lab. Well, I can't type anything, but what lab are you referring to, Gina? Are you talking about anylabtestnow.com, privatemdlabs.com? And Philip did the Any Lab Test Now, so. Quest Diagnostics says Philip. Christine, my wife came on. My wife is trolling me here on Facebook. Can I have a new brain? Can we ship all the stupid people off to an island by themselves? Who peed in your cornflakes, Christine? That's my girl, though. She just wanted to show up on Jimmy Rants. That's all that was. How do I know if I'm insulin resistant, says Gina? Well, there's a lot of signs. We put a whole bunch of them, Gina, in my book called The Keto Cure. So go and go look up that book on Amazon. It has a lot of great information, especially for people with insulin resistance. Skin tags is a very clear sign. I still have some underneath my arms. So it's a sign that you have insulin resistance. If your fasting insulin level is in the double digits or higher, you're insulin resistant. If you have a morning glucose number that tends to be consistently over 100, that's insulin resistance. If you have abdominal obesity, that's insulin resistance. There really are so many signs that show you are insulin resistant. So go get the Keto Cure if you want a full list. Blood sugar is 90 to 100. Keto for 2 years. I intermittent fast every day for 12 hours. I don't work out, says Dana. Awesome. I can't get away from heavy whipping cream in my coffee, so what do I do? So Candy, why do you want to get away from it? What's wrong with heavy whipping cream? If you're going to have any dairy, you would probably want to prefer to have heavy whipping cream first. Then I would say raw whole milk after that. And then don't mess with pasteurized milk of any kind, whether it's fat-free, 2%, none of that stuff. It's just all hogwash, literally. You don't want it. But yeah, use heavy cream. What's the matter with heavy whipping cream? Thank you guys. All right, I'm gonna pop back over to YouTube Live because I have been derelict in paying attention to them. So sorry about that, you guys. Let's see who has a question here. Let's see, the last one was the cigarette question. How about cooking up a late-term aborted fetus? Oh, come on, dude. You're killing me, man. All right, let's just, remove that boy. You get all types. Only on YouTube would I get a question like that. Idiot. If you make a hamburger patty from fatty ground beef, what do you do? with the fat that it releases when baking? That's a great question. So I actually pour it on top of the meat. Sometimes you can also use things like cheese wisps. There's also this thing called moon cheese that I will sometimes throw in the pan as well, and it helps to soak up some of the extra fat. But yeah, you eat it. You don't leave it in the pan, you eat it. You're looking healthy, Jimmy. Thank you for that. All right, wow, the crazy people on YouTube are out in full force today, man. The CMS rules are now starting to penalize doctors for not going to appointments, following advice, etc., especially hospitals upon discharge, says Crone Woman. Do some research because it's another area where the government's going to get oppressive about keto and low carb. Oh, they're probably already there, but that's where citizen advocates like myself will continue to speak up for you guys, and I will. I won't put up with them. Sorry, I just dropped something. I won't put up with them trying to prevent us from eating a diet that's making us healthy. Glad I caught you live. I've read that protein intake should be 0.6 to 1.0 grams per kilogram of body weight, depending on your activity level, says, who is that? Sana. I'm at maintenance, 5'6", female, 140. What are your thoughts? Yeah, that's on the low end of what I've heard. You have people at that level that you described. And then you've got people that say 1.5 to 2.0 grams per pound of lean mass. So what that means is the amount of ideal body weight is what they're trying to say. And that one's in kilo that you mentioned. So kilo would be a much lower threshold. Yeah, it's a lot of controversy. That's the sad part. And unfortunately, you can't get all the wizards of smart in this space to come up with a consensus about what the right ratio is. I think at this point, you kind of tinker around until you find your sweet spot. It's what I did, you guys, last year. I did this 3-to-1 protein to fat ratio to see how I would do. It ended up being about 55 to 60% fat and about 40 to 45% protein, and I didn't do well. I had the hypoglycemia, 15 bouts of them in 1 week. So that wasn't good. And then I did a 90%, 10% experiment just to see fat, 90% fat, 10% protein, to see how that would respond, and that didn't do well. So now I'm in my sweet spot between those two extremes, and I'm thriving. So my A1C is down to 5.4, says Janet. My doctor told me I'm no longer considered diabetic. Yeah, anything under 5.5, or actually anything under 6, you're no longer diabetic. Anything under 5.5 is considered pretty good glucose control. I know I need to get under 5.0. Not necessarily. Under 5.5 is pretty good. Optimally, yes, you want to get under 5.0, but I wouldn't bellyache over your numbers. You're doing great. So kudos to you. That's great, Janet. Let's see here. Moon cheese is great, says Val. Yeah, I love it. They actually have it at Costco now. Used to, you could only find moon cheese at Starbucks. Now it's starting to show up in a lot of places, but even the ones at Starbucks was just this little bitty bag. The one at Costco, you get a big old bag, and it's right around $10. So moon cheese is just these little round moon-shaped, it's just cheese that they've baked and made into a crunchy little cracker-like thing, and it's awesome. Craig, have you added in any non-animal-based healthy fat since January? Avocado-based mayo for your cheeseburgers, perhaps? I've done it 2 times, Craig. I had some of the primal mayo. But for the most part, most of my meals have come from animal-based foods only. So that's by design. All right, let me go back to Facebook. We're running out of time, you guys, so I want to make sure I get the last few. Greetings, I have a heartburn problem, says Jorge. I do not know why, since I've been in keto for 4 months. that could be causing the heartburn, and if I continue using apple cider vinegar. So yeah, I would look for, there's a lot of things that could be going on with the heartburn. Just know that elimination of carbohydrates alone should be helping with heartburn. So there's something that you're eating that could be stoking the heartburn. The last thing you want to do, though, is take something like Prilosec OTC or Rolaids or Tums, all of these proton pump inhibitors. They actually are contraindicative to this. Everybody thinks they get this heartburn. It comes back up and it burns right here in the esophagus. And Christine, my wife, the nutritional therapy practitioner, she taught me this, that most people are deficient in stomach acid. So even though it comes back up and it's a burning sensation, it does not mean that you have too much stomach acid. Everybody thinks that. What that actually is too little stomach acid. And we did a whole podcast all about that right at about a month and a half ago on the Nutritional Pearls podcast. So hop on over to nutritionalpearlspodcast.com and you will find all about what's going on there. Oh, and then I see Christine chimed in. Not enough stomach acid. See, I did you well, honey. I answered that exactly the way you did. Some of the groups talk about now having heavy whipping cream, says Janet. Okay. Let's see here. My weight loss stalled, says Tara. And I read to jumpstart weight loss, try giving up dairy. So I gave up heavy whipping cream. Okay, well, if that's your goal, is to give up dairy, that's a whole nother ball game. But dairy in and of itself is not necessarily an issue for all people. So I wouldn't just willy-nilly give up dairy and think that's the magic pill for weight loss. I've been told that again and again. I have tried to give up dairy. It doesn't do anything for me, good, bad, or ugly. So no thanks, I'll keep the dairy. Does monk fruit in my coffee break my fast? So Dana, Dr. Fung is not a fan of sweeteners when you're fasting, and I tend to concur with him simply because it can stoke hunger and cravings. And so the last thing you want to do is stoke hunger and cravings when you are fasting, so no. I can't get my ketone numbers above 5. How do I get them up? So Danette, thank you for that. If you're doing everything right in your nutrition, you're keeping your carbs very low and you're counting total carbs, not the net carb nonsense. You're moderating down on your protein. You're getting plenty of healthy fats. You're maybe intermittent fasting for at least like 14 to 18-ish hours in a day. And you're doing all the right things. And here's the key. Listen to this. Here's the key. If you are symptomatically feeling great, no hunger, no cravings, lots of energy, mental clarity, all of that jazz, I would argue that despite you not seeing it on the blood ketone meter, you are in a very healthy state of nutritional ketosis. My goal with ketones in the blood is to have a big fat 0. I want to make as many ketones that I'm using in order to be in all the benefits that come from keto. Everybody's looking for higher and higher number on the keto, and keep in mind that free-flowing amount of ketones in the blood is not the goal. The goal is to get the benefits therein. So I would pay attention. How do you feel? How's the hunger? How is your mental clarity? How's your mood? How's the energy levels? All of those things are signs that you're in ketosis and keto adapted, whether it shows up on the blood ketone meter or not. Let's see. Stress may be a factor in keeping you from getting into ketosis. Yes, Christine is chiming in again, as can poor sleep, but I agree with Jimmy. See, she agrees with me, guys. Y'all take a screenshot of that real fast because it's not often that I get that from my wife. All right, one more time. I'm going to go back to YouTube Live with the last few questions, you guys. Thank you. I hope you've enjoyed this Q&A, you guys. Been a lot of fun. With heartburn, add in some fermented vegetables, says M.E. Things like sauerkraut always takes care of mine. That's a good hack. I like that. My wife's calling me a dork over here on Facebook. Love you, honey. Mean it. Sana said, Sana, I don't know how to say your name, S-A-N-A. I may be in the minority in that I'm both allergic to and hate the taste of avocados, so I'm a bit concerned about potassium intake. I'm not a big fan of leafy greens either. Any suggestions? Oh yeah, Christine and I actually just did a whole episode about 3 weeks ago on the Nutritional Pearls podcast about the value that comes from red meat, and we looked at a ribeye. And in the ribeye, there is I think it was like 98%, Christine, if, remind me if that's right, 98% of your potassium requirement for the day comes from a ribeye steak. So if you don't do avocados, it's all good. You can get that. If you need to supplement, that's fine. But eat some red meat. It's got potassium in it as well. People don't often think of red meat as a potassium source. I'm a registered nurse, but I feel like I have to discredit all nutritional learning since nursing school after becoming keto. Yeah, you probably got no nutritional learning in nursing school. And that's sad because a lot of doctors aren't getting any training either. All right, guys, so we have gone an hour. Thank you so much for joining us today on this special Q&A live from LLVLC headquarters here in Spartanburg, South Carolina. A lot of fun doing this for you guys here today, Facebook Live and YouTube Live. So check it out, you guys. We do this show. It's called Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. It's a daily show. Generally in the mornings, I go on Instagram Live. I started this show in October, you guys, as another outlet for me because I have a lot of things to share. And so not like I have enough podcasts to share, but I wanted to share on here as well. So we've been doing Instagram Live. I recently started on YouTube Lives, and I'm just now starting to get into the Facebook Live. So get ready, Facebook. I'm coming at you with a lot more Jimmy Rants here in the near future. And of course, all the past episodes will be put up on YouTube. So literally you can find me anywhere online. I'm at Livin' Low Carb Man, LIVIN LOWCARBMAN. So if you go to Instagram, I'm at Livin' Low Carb Man. And the videos that I do there, you can watch live in the mornings, but then it's up for 24 hours on replay if you want to watch it on the replay there. I do put all the past episodes up on YouTube, so you can type in a keyword search Jimmy Rants. You will find the show, or of course, youtube.com/livinglowcarbman. And finally, I do have a podcast version of this show over on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. And all of those links, you guys, once again, are at jimmyrants.com. So until next time, Facebook Live, we'll see you then. And until next time, YouTube Live, appreciate you being here.